Okay guys, so here we are with the next step in the process, and that's basically we're going to put snakewood scales onto this knife. Now, this is vacuum stabilized material. I have my own vacuum stabilization system here at the shop, but I bought these because I had to get about 12 sets for a run of knives for a customer. And these were the rejects that are left over. I have 2 sets, and I'm just going to use them up on this knife. Got a nice little thin set also, as you can see. But what you may not realize, and I'll use this set to demo it, this comes as a block. You split it in half, and you basically unfold the block, and now you have what's called book matched sides. So one side is an exact match to the other side, which gives you symmetry when you go to put them on the knife. So basically one side, however you orient it, you're going to reverse it over to here, and when it's on the knife everything's going to line up. Probably a great way of seeing it is, I'll get a little closer here hopefully, and even the dot pattern is going to be the same on the spine. So the way I do it is once I split it, I've got my book matched pieces, and what I do is I figure these are my 2 insides, these are my 2 outsides. I lay the knife on and I cut 2 opposing patterns, one in this direction, I'm going to flip this, one in this direction, and yeah, we get some symmetry and things seem to line up. This isn't a great set, but it's going to do for this knife. And alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we lay this out and how we cut it, and then we're going to start showing you the processes of just getting these 2 pinholes lined up so that everything flows nicely from that point. There's nothing worse than having to fight with pins. You run the risk of breaking your stocks, or your scales I should say, if you start driving them in. It's just, there's a couple of tricks. I'm going to show you the tricks basically to get things to line up perfectly every time, and you won't have to deal with that mess. Okay, I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, we're back. So, blue tape on the interior side, book matched edge to edge, right here to here. And then same thing, I just trace it out, and I use a Sharpie basically because I know that if I stay in the black or outside of the black, I'm not going to be into the area where the actual steel is. I don't mind taking, you know, a 1/16 of an inch off on the outside of this to square everything up. So yeah, and on this set I mark my location for my 2 points to drill through, and what I'll do is I'll flip these up together like this. I'll take my steel, which is going to get taped shortly here because it's almost sharp. Don't want any accidents. And we'll go to the, once they're cut out, we're going to just clamp this together on my drill press and drill through all 3 pieces at once, which will give me perfect alignment. So yeah, that's the plan. We'll go from there. So next step is I'm just going to run down quickly and bandsaw this stuff out, and I'll show you that real quick. I don't think you need to watch the bandsawing process, that's pretty boring, but I'll show you the finished scales as they're ready to be assembled. Once we get everything set for the pins, I'll take these 2 halves and I'll explain the process of how to get things rough shaped with them pinned together temporarily. So, okay guys, stay tuned, be right back again. Okay guys, and so we're set. We've got our knife blade blank basically clamped to the 2 sets of scales. Next trick is to get to the drill press and let's get this thing, you know, drilled out. I'll drill 1 hole say the front one here, and pop a pin in it. I'll drill the back hole, pop a pin in that, and then I'll separate this whole thing. And then over to the grinder, and we'll get this thing fit to the knife a little better. And I'll show you how to radius and finish the ricasso side, because once they're on, you can't do any more work. Or you can, but it's tedious. So we're going to show you a quick, easy way. But that's it, and let's get this puppy downstairs and get to work. Alrighty guys, we've got 2 sets of machinist blocks here. The table is square to the cutting edge of the alignment of the bit. And basically, what we're going to do is make sure we've got everything nice and square here. And throw the drill on. And we're cutting through everything at once. Okay, let me turn this off. And I've pre-cut 2 pins, and so I'm going to pin this at this point. There we go. And that'll stop this from going out of alignment next hole that I've got to do. Alright, so now this pin will go in place, and everything's sliding nice and easy, everything's lined up, so both sets of scales and the blade are in alignment. I mean, these are not tight, but tight enough. I mean, I can still move them. So yeah, so let's break this setup down, and we'll go over to the grinder, and we're going to grind this set to finish shape. Okay guys, we're back. And for right now, I'm going to temporarily remount this blade because I want to get some of this profiling done right now. So, machine's still set up basically for doing that, so let's do it. And so, keeping everything square and pinned together, I'm able to get this aligned. Perfectly. So that's step one. It's close. That's good right now. Okay, so that's done. Now we're going to go back over to the bench grinder. I'm going to take this is a 36 belt, which will make short work of lining the rest of this stuff up. And yeah, so give me a minute, I'll break this one down. I'm going to move the belt over to the other machine. Okay guys, just want to run a test. I just put the belt on. I always just short cycle it to see how it's tracking. Everything looks good. So I'm going to throw this up. Everything's still here. We're nice and square to the table. So at this point, these scales are ready to go on the knife. Nice thing about a 36 grit belt at this stage of the game is it doesn't burn the scales. So I can basically unpin these, and yeah, you can see that we're pretty well roughed out. Now, the trick now is to deal with this radius, and I'm going to show you that setup in a couple of minutes. I'm going to mark it out. I'm going to probably just tilt this bed and take it down, put these back together again so they're a mirror image. The other problem I got is this set's slightly thicker, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to spend a little bit of time and get them trued up. So I'll probably take a little off of this surface on a platen. But yeah, once I get them pinned back together like this, you know, good side to the outside, good side to the outside, we'll do this radius next. Trick with the radius is we have to take it all the way to finish. So what we're going to do here is basically complete this one section of the scales 100% right down to polish. And the reason you do that is it's very hard to work on them when they're on the knife. The rest of the knife's easily accessible, the scales on the knife I mean, and so yeah, so let's get that next. Okay, so remember the pattern pieces that we started out this whole series with? Well, it pays to keep a copy, and the reason is this is what I want the scales to look like. I want that nice gentle radius, which will be probably at about a 30-40 degree angle to the scales. So yeah, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pop this pin out right here. Okay, and I'm going to move this. Well, actually I can just take one off, I guess. We're going to put it on one of these two sides, and that's going to give me a transfer mark for my radius. So here we go. Whoop, it slid there. It must have a little, yeah, there we go. So we're going to take it right to the right hand side, this side of the black line. And we'll pin them back together. I'm going to quickly run downstairs and I'm just going to basically scribe these two together. Alright guys, so I'm going to put that radius into the end of these scales. There we go. Little more. So now the trick is to tilt the table, and I've got to do that. It involves a little bit of work, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so the idea here is I can see my center line looking down, and I'm just going to roughly remove the material. Then we're going to switch belts, go to a 120 grit, probably go to like a 200 grit, maybe a 400 grit. Get a real close finish and polish these ends. So here we go. Continue to start to put the radius in. I've left an 1/8" line right here, so we're good on that side. Vibrated a pin out and I don't want it to hit the belt, so I'm going to get a little bit off of here. Alright, I can hold that in place. Okay. So as you can see, we've achieved symmetry in every manner on this. So I'm not going to bore you with the details of you know, belt changes and such. I'll come back to the point where we're going to use the buffing wheel to clean this final up, and then we're going to be ready to glue up and put it away for the day. I let my scales sit on the knife clamped up for 24 hours. So be right back, and this will be finished and ready for buff. Okay. Okay guys, so we're ready for buff. Now, I have a linen wheel and I have a cotton wheel, and this is purple, and yeah, I think I'm going to go with purple. I don't see my black. So I'm going to load the wheel up, and then this is the edge that needs to be finished. So here we go. And bear in mind, these are all pinned together still. Okay, that's it, gang. They're done. So we are ready at this point to glue the scales on. Now, I'm going to do something a little controversial, but something that I've used for a number of years now, and I've never had a failure. We are going to use, instead of two-part epoxy, Gorilla Glue. So stay tuned. Okay guys, so the reason this is looking like it's already done is because it's all dry fit, and I set the pressure on these clamps because of varying thicknesses of every time I do this. So when I do this, I want it to go smooth and I want it to go fast, especially when I'm running something like a 5-minute epoxy. So setup's key. We're going to use Gorilla Glue today. I find it's somewhat water resistant, more so than I think some of the epoxies. I think it grabs really good. It expands into the voids. It seems to do really good with heat and cold. And since I've been using it, I've probably made 30 or 40 knives over the years, and they're all out in the world, and nobody's had a problem. So, knock on wood, it seems to be something that's viable, and it's something anybody can get. So, there's better two-part epoxies out there, like the West systems, that are fairly expensive. Gorilla Glue, a bottle like this is 10, 12 bucks. You want to have some acetone handy. And the reason for the acetone is when things start needing to be cleaned up here, dipping a Q-tip in acetone and getting, whether it's epoxy or Gorilla Glue, off of the ricasso area now is a lot easier than trying to clean it up once it's dry. So, yeah, acetone is your friend. Okay, what else? I like to have a rag handy. That's about it. So we're going to unclamp this right now. Set our clamps aside. Yep, and we are going to glue this up. So, I do all surfaces, and I do the pins. Okay. So let's go for it. So I'll do the knife last, because that's going to lay on this. And here we go. Let me get some paper here so I'm not messing up my board here. Alright, here we go. So, nice even coat. They do say that wetting it helps. In this case, there's a mechanical fastener combined with this. So I'm not going to wet it, but I probably should mention it. I think it's probably a good idea because when I use it in carpentry, you know, that we always wet it. So, but this is pretty rough surfaced, and I think we're going to have a rough surface here, so it's going to grab. So yeah, nice and easy. Just get full coverage. As the Gorilla Glue expands, it's going to fill any voids, but you just want to make sure you've got 100% coverage with whatever system you use. Okay, we're going to do the blade. We want to make sure we're really getting it around the perimeter where this is going to be. So a little sloppiness is okay. You can go onto the ricasso. We're going to have something to clean that up. And when we finally put the knife on, we're going to fill every one of these little holes we created with Gorilla Glue so that it expands into those voids and goes across and has contact with the wood on the other side. All right. Here we go. There's one. And there's the pin. Okay. This is what I was talking about right here. I want to make sure that these have full coverage, because they actually will create a mechanical bond from wood to wood right across the blade. And that one could use a little more. Okay. So we talked about the alignment. You see how easy that went together. Okay, time for clamps. One in the middle, and one near each pin. And we'll go from this direction this time. Okay. One last thing. Just check, make sure my pins are protruding from both sides. Okay, we're good. That's the glue up, guys. And as you can see, I was talking about this area right here. You see how much of an issue it could be. So, out comes the acetone and the rag. And we're going to clean it right out. And we're going to keep on doing that, because as the Gorilla Glue expands, that side's not so bad, so I can probably do it with a Q-tip. As the Gorilla Glue expands, it's going to come into this area, see? Guess we will use the rag. Okay. Yeah, as it expands, it's still going to ooze onto the ricasso. So I'll watch it over the next half hour and just keep on cleaning this out. But that's it. That's the glue up. And pretty much I'll wipe down wood here and there, you know, as things move around. Make sure my pin stayed center. It did. Awesome. Okay, so that's the glue up, guys.